"This cheap thing? You should be ashamed." That's what my mom said. She didn't even wait for my dad to unwrap it himself. She just tore into the box I had saved for weeks to buy, held up the leather wallet like it was a rotting fruit, and flung it into the trash with a flick of her hand. "My name is Haley, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever watched someone you love crush your effort in silence, like it meant nothing, and still smiled about it?" I stood there frozen, the sound of the trash lid slamming shut still echoing in my ears. My hands, cracked from double shifts at the diner, were still stained with marinara and dish soap. My apron smelled like old grease, and my sneakers were soaked from the rain. But I had shown up. I had shown up to my father's 60th birthday, late but proud, holding a gift wrapped in gold paper I found on sale, tied with a ribbon I pulled from an old blouse. And in return, "Don't embarrass us again," my mother hissed in front of the whole family. No one said anything. Dad didn't even look up. He just sipped his whiskey and chuckled at something my brother said across the room.
It was like I didn't exist.
Like I hadn't spent 14 hours on my feet all week just to buy him that wallet. No one noticed me wipe my hands on my apron and walk out the side door. No one cared that I stood in the dark by the trash bins, breathing through the sting in my chest. But I wasn't going to cry.
Not this time.
That night, when I took out the trash before leaving, I did something else. I reached into the bin and took the wallet back out, cleaned it off, sat with it in my car. Then, I opened my phone, pulled up the spreadsheet I'd kept hidden for months. The one with names, account numbers, dates. Because this wasn't the first time they humiliated me, but it would be the last time they did it for free. The wallet had been a symbol of love. What I left in its place that night was a receipt, and they wouldn't realize it until it was too late. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was hurt, I was past hurt.
It was something colder now. Cleaner.
Like when a wound stops bleeding and starts hardening into scar. I sat at my kitchen table, the wallet cleaned and resting beside my phone, and stared at the spreadsheet I'd been quietly updating since last Christmas. Family contributions, unreciprocated. That was the title. I never meant for it to become a weapon. It started as a way to track how much I was giving. Gas money for mom's appointments. Grocery top-ups when the fridge was mysteriously empty. Half the rent when my brother couldn't swing it again. Birthday gifts. Graduation cakes. That small loan for dad's truck repair that never found its way back. Line by line, I'd logged it. No drama. No begging. Just numbers. The total at the bottom? $11,960. That's what it cost to be the daughter who was always available but never invited. The daughter who never said no and never got a thank you. I scrolled down to a section marked pending. One entry glared back at me. Dad's 60th birthday wallet, $148.94. Status: discarded. I changed the status to returned to sender. And then I opened a new email. Not to them, not yet. To my bank. I had co-signed their utility account years ago when they were between jobs. They never took me off. It was still open, still draining small fees from my backup card each month. They thought I hadn't noticed. I requested full closure. Immediate. No warning. Then I logged into the Join Amazon account. The one linked to my credit card because mom didn't trust putting her own info online. I revoked access, removed every shipping address except my own, and flagged all open orders. I watched in real time as her card emptied. The next morning, I called the cell provider. I paid off my portion and asked to be removed from the family plan entirely. The representative paused. "You know they'll lose service today, right?" I smiled.
Yeah.
I know. Because if they were going to treat me like I was nothing, it was time to show them what nothing really looked like. By the time the sun came up, I had cut off 4 shared accounts, canceled 2 autopays, and forwarded every single invoice I'd ever paid on their behalf to a new folder labeled Proof of Pattern.
I didn't do it out of spite.
I did it out of clarity. Because when someone throws your gift in the trash and laughs, they're not just disrespecting what you gave. They're declaring you disposable. I got dressed slowly that morning. Not in my diner uniform, in real clothes. Clean jeans. A dark sweater. I tied my curls back, applied lip balm, and looked myself in the mirror for longer than usual. Not because I liked what I saw, but because for the first time, I was looking at myself, not through myself. And then I drove. Not to their house. To the dealership. The one where I'd co-signed Dad's new Silverado last year when his credit wasn't quite there. The one he'd bragged about at barbecues. My baby, he called it, even though half the paperwork still carried my name. I walked in with my copy of the loan agreement, all the payment records, and my ID. The finance guy recognized me. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked gently. I nodded. "I'm not taking it. I'm just removing myself. I'll take the credit hit. I'm done being the safety net they cut holes in." He nodded, adjusted his glasses, and printed the release form. It felt like signing a divorce. By the time I walked back to my car, my hands weren't shaking anymore. On the way home, my phone lit up, Mom. I let it ring. Then a text. "Internet's down. Did you pay the bill yet?" I stared at it, stunned by the entitlement. No question mark. No please. No context. Just expectation, like I was a line item in their monthly budget. So I replied with a screenshot. The same spreadsheet I'd stared at the night before. The full breakdown. And one sentence underneath. "This is what I've done. What have you?" There was no reply. But an hour later, I got a message from my brother. "Why are you acting like this? This is family." Family? Funny how they remember that word the second the faucet stops running. But it wasn't me who walked away first.
They did.
When they tossed that wallet like trash, they didn't just discard leather and stitching.
They discarded me.
The next few days were quiet. Not the kind of peaceful quiet that wraps you like a blanket. This was the sharp quiet of absence, the kind you only notice after years of being everyone's emergency contact. No calls. No group chats. Not even those passive-aggressive forwarded memes from Mom that used to say things like, "Daughters are a blessing" when they remember their place. I didn't miss them. I missed the illusion of them. The family I thought I had when I squinted hard enough through the pain. But illusions don't pay back debt. That Thursday, I was rolling silverware at the diner when Melinda, the owner, tapped my shoulder. "You okay?" she asked, squinting. I nodded, then hesitated. "Why?" She smiled softly. "You've been humming. You only hum when you've got a plan." I laughed for the first time all week. Because she was right. I did have a plan. After my shift, I stopped by the old bookstore on Willow. The owner, Mr. Clay, always left a copy of The Art of War in the front window. I never really cared for the title, but suddenly the strategy of it made sense. Because this wasn't war with weapons. This was war with truth. That night, I made copies of the spreadsheet. Clean versions. One went into a sealed envelope addressed to my parents' house, with a sticky note on the front. "Since you like receipts." I dropped it in their mailbox personally. Quiet. No drama. Not even a knock. But the next morning, my phone exploded.
Mom.
"What the hell is this? You've been keeping score?"
Dad.
"Ungrateful. That's what you are. After all we've done." "Brother, you need to grow up." And then, the final message. A group text.
For my father.
"From now on, keep your distance. You've made your choice. Don't come around unless you're ready to apologize." I stared at the words, letting them settle. Then I did something I hadn't done since I was 12. I removed myself from the family group chat. No warning. No explanation. Just a silent exit. The kind they'd been performing for years. Every time they ignored my presence. Every time they dismissed my value. Every time they laughed while I swallowed shame. They threw away my gift in front of me and told me not to embarrass them.
But now?
Now I was done giving them anything to be proud of or ashamed of. I was gone. The strange thing about being gone is that at first no one believes you. They expect a return. A backtrack. A quiet crawl back into place. Especially when you've spent years being the one who stays, no matter how cold the room gets. But I didn't come back. I stopped answering. Stopped paying. Stopped showing up. And one by one, the consequences started landing not with thunder but with static. Late notices. Disconnected utilities. packages that never arrived. Their comfortable chaos, once quietly managed by me, began to unravel. I wasn't there to clean it up. I was too busy building something else. See, in between my shifts and silence, I'd been applying. To places. To programs. I wasn't sure where I belonged, but I knew it wasn't in a household where shame wore perfume and cruelty smiled behind birthday cake. Then it happened. I got the email. A full scholarship. Hospitality training program. Downtown. Focused on women in recovery, not just from addiction, but from environments that drain them. That afternoon, I walked into the kitchen at work with tears in my eyes. Melinda thought something was wrong. I shook my head, pulled out my phone, and showed her the message. She smiled, so wide it made my chest ache. "About time you poured into yourself," she whispered. It was the first time anyone had said that to me. That night, as I packed a small overnight bag, my uniform, my notebook, a copy of The Art of War from the bookstore, I did something simple. I pulled out the wallet, the one they'd tossed away, and I filled it with 3 things. My acceptance letter, a receipt from the training deposit, a photo of me on my 8th birthday, before life got loud. Then I placed it in a box, wrapped it in new paper, and left it on their porch. No note. No return address. Just the same gift they'd thrown away. Only now it was heavier. Not with money. Not with guilt. With proof. That they never broke me. They just taught me how to leave. And this time, I wasn't coming back. A week passed. Then 2. No word from them. But I didn't need it. I already knew what the silence meant. They'd received the box. And for once in their lives, they didn't know what to say. It was poetic, really, the same gift they mocked, now returned not as an offering but as evidence. That I had risen. That I had walked through their ridicule and built something they couldn't touch. I was living in a shared apartment downtown now, a tiny unit above a bakery that smelled like cinnamon every morning. The walls were thin, the heater clicked too loud, and the floors creaked, but it was mine. I kept the binder of receipts in a drawer, not because I needed reminders, but because it grounded me. Every line told a story. Every number was a scar that had closed clean. One evening, after class, I found a voicemail waiting for me. My father. His voice sounded older somehow.
Smaller.
"Haley, I don't
know what to say.
Your mom's been a mess since the wallet came back. She won't admit it, but she's embarrassed. Maybe we all are. I guess we didn't see you. I guess we forgot how much you did. Maybe we got used to it." A long pause. "I'm not asking you to come back. I just want you to know. I kept the wallet. I carry it now. I think of you when I open it."
Click.
I sat there, phone in hand, staring at the wall. I wasn't crying. Not because it didn't move me, but because it came too late. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't an invitation. It was a whisper into a room I no longer lived in. And I wasn't going to shout back. I forwarded the voicemail to a folder labeled closure. Then I locked my phone, zipped my jacket, and stepped outside into the crisp night. The air smelled like bread, like beginnings. At the corner, a woman was struggling with 2 bags of groceries and a toddler. I walked over without thinking and took one of the bags from her. She looked up startled. "Thank you," she breathed. I smiled. We've all carried too much alone. Because kindness didn't make me weak. It just needed better directions. Ones that didn't lead me back to a place where love had price tags and shame was wrapped in ribbons. This time, I was carrying only what belonged to me. And it felt light. The training program became more than I ever imagined. Each day started at 7 a.m., early check-ins, workshops on guest services, catering logistics, even budgeting. But the part one loved most was the people. Women like me. Women who had been overlooked, dismissed, talked over, told they were too sensitive or too much. We were all survivors of quiet wars. One Thursday, during a group exercise, we were asked to bring an item that represented a turning point in our lives. Most brought books, photos, trinkets. I brought the wallet. When I pulled it from my bag, it was silent for a moment, then I held it up and said, "This was supposed to be a gift." But it became a mirror, because the way they treated it showed me Exactly how they saw me. Replaceable.
Cheap.
Embarrassing. I looked at the women in that room, some nodding, some blinking back tears. But what they threw away, I continued, wasn't a wallet. It was my effort. My love. My value. That night, I realized, if they can't honor your love, you have every right to take it back. After, one of the women came up and whispered, I left my whole life last year. Took nothing. Wish I'd kept something like that, a symbol. I pressed the wallet into her hands. Then take it now. Let it mean something better.
She cried.
I hugged her, and in that moment, I realized something I never thought I would. The gift they tossed out.
It didn't go to waste.
It just found a better home. Later that evening, I walked through the city streets alone, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a ghost in my own story. I was here.
Alive.
Visible. I passed by a window display, a fancy boutique filled with glittering birthday cards and overpriced perfumes. One card caught my eye. To the daughter who gave too much and finally learned to give to herself. I stood there for a long time, just reading it, over and over.
I didn't buy it.
I didn't need to, because I had already become the message. It's been 3 months. I haven't seen my parents since the birthday. Not even in passing. No surprise visits. No desperate apologies. Just absence. And somehow I'm okay with that. Because closure doesn't always come wrapped in forgiveness. Sometimes it's just distance, and the decision not to go back. I've graduated from the program now. I walked across that tiny stage in a simple black dress, no family cheering from the front row, but a crowd of strangers who clapped like I mattered. Because to them, I did. Melinda came. So did the woman I gave the wallet to. And afterward, as we stood eating cupcakes on flimsy paper plates, she pulled something from her coat pocket. It was the wallet, polished, repaired, and still intact. I'm keeping it, she said, but I added something. She opened it slowly and showed me a photo tucked inside, her with her 2 kids, smiling. You reminded me I deserve to be seen.
You gave that to me.
I didn't respond at first. My throat tightened, and not from sadness, from something deeper. From the realization that I had become what I needed all those years ago, someone who doesn't vanish when she's mistreated. Someone who walks away with purpose. That night, I took the long way home, passed by the house I grew up in. All the lights were off except one. The porch light. The same porch where they left me standing in the rain with a gift they never asked for. The same porch where I left the box. I didn't stop. Didn't slow down. I just watched it disappear in my rearview mirror, smaller and smaller, until it became nothing but a blur behind me. Because this wasn't my home anymore. My home was the place I was building with each new yes to myself. Each no to what hurt. And as I walked into my little apartment, hung up my jacket, and sat down at my desk to write out the first invoice for my new event planning gig, I felt something I hadn't felt in years.
Peace.
Not because they changed. Not because they apologized.
But because I no longer needed them to.
What they threw away was never about a wallet.
It was about me. And now?
I will never again hand them the pieces of myself just to be called enough. Because I am already more than enough.